Hello and welcome to another episode of Parker's Previews powered by The Hammer. It's a show where every week I'm going to take 3 games and we're going to parse them out over the course of the week. And I'm going to look at games from a betting matchup, from an analytics matchup, kind of talk through and model how we should think about college football games, college football matchups, using analytics, using data, making some comments about what I saw, and helping you be a better consumer of college football and a smarter investor when it comes to wagering and making bets on the games as well. So yesterday, if you're subscribed to the channel, you already saw that I talked about Texas A&M and Miami, and I liked Miami to cover on the road. Today, I'm going to talk about a game that should be a blowout and explain why I think that it will be a blowout and why I think Utah by a couple scores is actually a pretty good game. So let's dive into it. Make sure you click like, subscribe, all that fun stuff at the bottom there as well. So starting out, going to talk about the San Diego State Utah game. This line opened at Utah minus 23. It had an over-under of 49. So you start doing the math on implied scores, and it does not appear that Vegas initially thought that San Diego State would be able to score against Utah, which is not the most insane proposition or assumption to make. Currently, that line sits at over under 49. Not a lot of movement there. Down to 21.5. It was as low as 20.5. If you got it there, I think you were smart, but I think there's still some value here in how these in this matchup. If you look at the money, 25% of bets on San Diego State, 75% on Utah. Obviously, Utah a heavy favorite here. The Utes with a little bit of a disappointing start to their season, losing that game to Florida, but seemed to be back in form, seemed to be pretty excited about showing that they are not discounted from national competition just because they lost a game there last week. Utah beat Southern Utah 73-7. So really put up a lot of points there, really worked out some frustration. We saw a little bit more passing out of Cam Rising and a really balanced rush game. What I liked out of Utah last week was specifically in their run game, they had 5 guys with at least 20 yards. And so really versatile there, led by Curry with 60, and then Cam Rising, 17 of 23 for 3 touchdowns. Maybe some issues to work there with the passing game, but they really let him figure things out and got him some reps. So like where they're at right now, like that they didn't let up against a really bad team last week. San Diego State, on the other hand, they started their season losing to a spicy but a bad Arizona team. I think Arizona is currently an underdog to North Dakota State this week. So not exactly a great team there for Arizona. But they do have that Jaden DeLara, who was a high-volume passer at Washington State before he transferred over, and Jacob Cowing, who was an excellent receiver at UTEP, going and getting bombs from Gavin Hardison in 2021. So they had that connection, and were able to exploit it, and San Diego State's offense just really couldn't keep up at all. Last week, they played Idaho State in a game that terrifies me, because this game was 21-7 at the half, San Diego State over Idaho State, but San Diego State returned a punt in the first half as well, so that inflates that total a little bit. Makes me a little bit nervous about their ability to kind of separate. Everybody has bad games to start, but overall, a little bit worried about their offense in general and their ability to score on this Utah defense. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about the stats. Let's talk about the numbers. Yeah, so we got an advanced stats preview here, just a way to kind of look at these games and think analytically. We've got 2021 data here, so a really big split here. The place I like to start with both teams is EPA margin, right? Expected points added margin. How much more efficient are you on offense than you allow your opponents to be on defense? That's a good indicator of kind of overall how good your team is. San Diego State 95th in EPA per play margin. They are negative 0.12 net efficiency per play, whereas Utah is 49th, 0.66. Obviously, Utah played Florida, who's a pretty good team, in their first game, and San Diego State has played Arizona and played Idaho State. So the quality of competition here is different. This probably looks a little worse in reality than just these raw numbers. On offense, San Diego State is 91st. Utah is 126th on defense. Again, that's going to be a lot because of what Anthony Richardson did. So we opponent adjust that. That's probably a top 70, top 60 unit on defense. A little bit worse than what we expected, but it is early season. You look at rush rate over expectation. San Diego State really rushing the ball a lot more than people think. 119th in rush rate over expectation. And so they really trying to get the ball to move on the ground. Just think that a little bit, so they don't really trust their passing game. Remember, rush rate over expectation is just looking at down, distance, yard line, game state. How often does the average team rush? And then comparing how often an individual team rushes to average. That tells us a little bit about the style and the way teams move the ball. And it tells us a little bit about pace as well. So an important stat there. On defense, San Diego State 85th in EPA per play margin. So slightly better, but a far cry below what they were last year for sure. And Utah on offense 8th, really moving the ball well with Cam Rising, really efficient there and have some potent weapons both in the passing and in the run game. In terms of net points per drive, Utah, just because that Florida game slightly below. Obviously, we discount some of those FCS game results when creating these stats and looking at this model, because a lot of that is garbage time. A lot of that's not really predictive of the future. And so this is mostly from the Florida game, which is why you see some pretty low numbers here for Utah. But those of these teams have played a Power 5 opponent, so we do have some information about them. In terms of net points per drive, this takes field goal attempts, the expected value of a field goal attempt plus your touchdowns, and then divides it by your drives. And really struggling here for for San Diego State. And a little bit of, I think this is going to end up being some wonkiness on field position. So we're not going to talk about this because that seems too big for San Diego State and their loss against Arizona. Let's break it down with the offense of San Diego State versus the defense of Utah. Again, really balanced, not great overall. Here we've got 94th in EPA per rush, 82nd in EPA per pass. Not very efficient on either side of the ball there. Braxton Burmeister, only 55.6% completion, only 4.4 yards per attempt, only a 6.4 average depth of target. So they're not really asking him to do much, and they're not really able to do much with him. Of note, San Diego State wide receivers have dropped 16.7% of passes, and Braxton Burmeister has a time to throw of 3.05. So what that leads me to believe is, looking at their efficiencies, is that their pass game, he's getting some time, but they're not getting open very well. And so he's not really even getting opportunities to throw the ball downfield. A lot of checkdowns, a lot of running around trying to make something happen. Against the Utah defense, it's going to be extremely disruptive. I don't think he has the athleticism to really extend plays consistently. You could find yourself in a negative script very easily if he's used to running around, creating plays, and making something happen. It could find him getting a little reckless, could find San Diego State behind the sticks a whole lot against Utah. That would be really bad because they're not great on early downs overall this year. And so terrible drawing of the line there. That's fine. 95th on early downs compared to 103rd on late downs as well. So that, if that script gets a little bit worse and that early downs EPA gets bad, I really think this Utah defense should be super disruptive against San Diego State. The base model here has 19 points for San Diego State. I think that's far too much for what they're going to be able to do against Utah's defense. The issue here is not going to be so much. I think how Utah stops San Diego State from scoring is going to be really important, because the issue in this game is, will Utah stay on the gas long enough to cover here? And I think there's no reason why they shouldn't. San Diego State, Kurt Maddox, really smart defensive mind, has some really good schemes. I think this is a lot of quality reps for Utah down the stretch to get some guys in there and really find out, what do we know about our competition? What do we know about ourselves? And so I think I expect Utah to be competitive this entire game until maybe the very end, but they should have a comfortable lead here. If you look at the other side of the ball, offense versus defense for Utah here, again, Pass and rush, pretty even split. San Diego State, huge split, run and pass. And what do we think when we see a huge split like this? We think, teams are probably passing a lot more against them than they are rushing against them. If you go and look at San Diego State's loss to Arizona, and just look at the team stats there, they lost 38-20, and Arizona passed 35 times. They rushed 39 times. So, a little bit of a balance there. They only rushed for 4.2 yards per attempt, but 8.5 yards per pass. So that theory of, is there a big split here? It doesn't seem to necessarily be true from what we've seen. Arizona was pretty balanced in the run and the pass. But what Arizona was able to do was stay ahead of the chains through the passing and get those big explosive plays. So I think we'll see a lot more consistency out of this Utah offense. If you look at their success rate over here on the right, 13th in passing success, 3rd in rushing success. I think that floor is going to make their offense so much more potent against San Diego State's defense than Arizona's was, because Arizona is a little bit more of that boom and bust. So big advantage there. And then, early downs, late downs, Utah doesn't have an obvious split. San Diego State really was a lot better on early downs last season, really struggling with early downs against Arizona and in the FCS game. So I think Utah's offense should be able to score at will. I think they'll have a nice mix of running and passing. Cam Rising didn't have an excellent game last week, and they should be able to really attack this San Diego State defense that's not as, still well designed, but maybe not as athletic as they were last year. And with San Diego State's offense being so bad, they're not going to be able to be in positive situations often with the defense. You look for some short fields from Utah, and I think that there's no reason Utah shouldn't cover the 21 points here. So this is my second game of the week. I think that Utah to cover 49 seems like a low total for me, but if San Diego State's offense is as bad as I believe, then I'm not going to put any faith in them to score. And with 21 points here, 38-7 covers 21. That's a push, so you need a little more than that. But so I don't know if San Diego State's going to be able to score at all. I don't know that I would trust them to score enough to cover here with Utah with such a big lead. So would probably stay away from a total on this game. But I just because Utah's scoring potency is so high, and I don't want to bet on either Utah taking their foot off the gas or San Diego State scoring enough to kind of push that total one way or the other. I think the move here is Utah. Just to absolutely run over San Diego State, to work on their passing game a little bit and demonstrate that they're back national competitors, a team to be respected, even with that loss on the road at Florida. Thanks so much for listening and tuning in to Parker's Previews. This is episode 2 for week 3. And I'll be back tomorrow with a third game. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel on YouTube, Parker's Previews on Twitter, and at Stats of Wars, where you can find me tweeting graphs and talking football. Catch all of you next time.